So here's the a video for complete disassembly and reassembly of the FNH FNS-9 pistol. When I first bought this pistol, there were no videos showing complete disassembly of the weapon, and I still think there isn't any. So I decided to do one for myself to help out other people out there that decide to buy this pistol. Most of the videos I see out there just slow show disassembly of the slide. So I guess we can start that. So to remove the slide, push up on the slide lock, pull the slide to the rear. You then rotate the safety check button. Okay. Rotate the takedown lever about 90 degrees. Pull the slide back, turn it forward. You'll notice that the frame and the slide are not flush here in the back. Now they need to be flush in order for you to disassemble a pistol. So I usually just press check back until it's flush and pull the trigger, releasing the striker and before releasing the slide from the frame. You then pull up on the recoil spring assembly and set that aside. The barrel will be pulled forward and up and out. Now you're left with two different assemblies here, the extractor assembly and the striker assembly, including the striker firing pin block. Now to remove the striker assembly, you'll need a punch or something pointy. Punch works well. So we'll just grab this punch here. Now if you notice, you can see this is the back plate here, this plastic piece, and there is the striker spring guide right there, the striker spring itself, and then you see the striker here. That is the striker / firing pin block. I don't know the official name, but you place a pin or your object in this recess here, and you will depress the spring like that to release the tension. Now while you're doing that, you're also going to slide the rear plate off while keeping your finger behind so that when you slide the plate completely off, you will catch the spring and the spring guide. Remove that, set that aside. Now the reason why you remove the tension from the spring is because this recoil spring, or the striker spring guide, sits in this recess, locking the plate in place, preventing it from coming out accidentally. Pretty standard stuff. Now to remove the striker, pull the striker to the rear, and you'll have to tip out the block and the spring. Now that that's out, you can remove the striker assembly, remaining striker assembly, and tip over, and you'll also have the striker return spring here. Now that's just simply placed that and into the gun. Now I don't understand why they did it this way, FN, but they decided to do it. There's a small pin that retains a stop right here. If I could get it to focus. Anyway, there's a pin here, and if we press the pin out, pin falls out. That pin basically locks that stop, let me see, into the striker body. That plunger or stop just goes down here in the center and slides down and into there, or then you could replace the pin. Now the only remaining assembly in the slide is the extractor. Now this is definitely one of the more difficult, touchy processes of the slide assembly, or even the whole gun. What you'll have to do is depress, there's three components in this extractor assembly. It's the extractor itself, which also acts as its retainer, and the plunger and spring, which applies tension, keeping the assembly in place. Now the way to take this out, that I take it out, is I take a small screwdriver like this and place it in between the plunger and the extractor, and I push in to seat it in between the two components. Now while I'm pressing in, I will push this way to relieve spring tension off the extractor. While I'm doing that, I'll push in and try to lift up on the extractor. Now, they say there's other ways to do this just by pushing back and the extractor will fall out, and I've never really had much luck in doing that. I usually just find that repeated attempts of doing this is the best way to get it out. There's no really easy way. Of course, I usually get this in about 2 tries, but it's giving me some trouble. Now, well, I guess we'll try a different way today because it's not working for me. There we go. So I just needed another angle. I just did exactly what I said. Was I pulled back on the plunger, pressed in, and then tilted it in behind and popped the extractor out. You can see here's the extractor. Basically this sits inside with the spring tension pushing on, the plunger is pushing on this little ridge here. Now because the plunger is there, it keeps the extractor from coming out. Pretty simple. Now, when you tilt the slide out, let's slide over, and out falls the spring and the plunger. So inside of the gun, it sits like that. And now, reassembly is, especially for the extractors, very simple. Now what I do is I just use this as a guide. It's not necessary. There's a slot. I don't know if you could see it. You might be able to. There's a hole right here that the whole assembly slides into. So I just use this to locate it, slide it into place, and just twist just to make sure that spring drops off in place. Okay. Take the plunger. It's not directional. You just put it in. It's going to rest in there just gently. Yeah, it's a little difficult to do on camera. Okay. So, oh, well, I did not know that was magnetic. And I guess I'll use a punch. Anyway, it's pretty off frame, out of frame. There we go. There. So, plunger's in after the spring. This is the easy part. Put the claw of the extractor on the inside of the slide and rest it on top of the plunger. And while it's in this orientation, I grab a plastic punch. I rest it down into the frame while applying pressure on the extractor with this thumb. And what I do is I basically hold the punch down and I seesaw it in until it clicks into place. Very easy. And reassembly of the striker assembly doesn't take very long. I just gotta find, there it is. Locating the stop is the only mildly tricky thing about putting the striker back together. And there we are. That goes back into the gun. Whoop. Actually, striker return spring. That goes back into the gun, just like that. Now, hold the striker down, remove the recoil spring to replace the block. So the spring sits in this channel in the block. Hold it down and replace. You want to orient the striker in a way that slide into place. Push the striker forward and it will lock that in place. Replace the recoil spring, or the striker spring. Press it down and reinstall back plate while holding the recoil spring or striker spring guide down. Push it until it clicks into place. Now slide the barrel back in, push it back until it locks, and put the recoil spring, line it up with the front hole, and push down, and I'll lock into the barrel. That is slide, disassembly, and reassembly.